Hello. In our law practice, we find that one of the most devastating things that can happen to people who have tax liability is for the IRS to get to the point where they levy on them. And a levy is a seizure where they actually take assets from the people. And they may levy on a bank account and clean the bank account out. They may levy on accounts receivable for a business. They may levy on any other assets that a person might have. But what we found is about the most devastating levy is when they take a person's paycheck. They serve a notice on the person's employer, and they take the vast majority, in most cases, of a person's paycheck, leaving them virtually nothing to live on. And it's amazing how much power the IRS has. They could come in and do a levy without ever having gone to court, without ever having got a judgment. Once they serve the notices that they're required to serve, they've got free rein to come in and levy on people and take their paychecks, take their bank accounts, any other assets that they can find. And what we find is that people who have levies contact us, and they're usually pretty frantic. The IRS is taking my paycheck, and I'm not going to have money to buy food or make my house payment or pay my rent or utilities or whatever. And so we've kind of developed a methodology for working with the IRS on behalf of people who have levies. And what we find is that there are provisions in the Internal Revenue Manual and the Internal Revenue Code to get a levy released. And if it puts you in a position where you're not able to provide for the necessities of life, we can oftentimes get those levies released. Now, there's several caveats to that. First, it's difficult because the IRS takes the attitude, well, we've been sending notices and this has been going on for a long period of time, and we're talking about taxes that are usually several years or more old, and they're pretty reluctant to let go because they're finally getting paid. And they have very specific criteria to get a levy released. First, we have to show that it constitutes an undue hardship, that you're not going to be able to provide your family and yourself with the necessities of life, food, clothing, and shelter. They're going to require financial statements. They're going to require that you don't have enough disposable income that you can pay the IRS and still live on what's left of your paycheck. But oftentimes we found that the only way for people to survive is to get these levies released and get themselves into a position where they're either placed in non-collectible status, or they're on a small installment agreement, or some other form of resolution of their tax problems, often compromise or whatever we might decide to do. But if you've got a levy on your wages or on your bank account or other assets, you need legal help, and you need it right away, because the problem isn't going to go away. And a levy, particularly on a paycheck, is a continuous levy, and they'll continue to take your paycheck until such time as they're paid in full, tax, penalties, and interest, unless the levy's released. If you have tax problems and are either levied on or you've got notices threatening the levy, please take the time to either call us or fill out our online form, and we'll be happy to have a no-obligation consultation with you to discuss your tax situation and advise you as to what you can do to either avoid a levy, or if you've been levied on, to get a levy released.